Joe Pullman here from craftworking.net, and in this video I'm going to give some key points on buying hardware for your virtualized environment. I have quite a bit of experience in this, and so what I put together is probably going to be fairly accurate, but a lot of it has to do with budget, and this can be a limiting factor on what you can buy, but these are the highlights on what you need to consider when spending your money. This is the 6 things that are important when considering the purchase of a server for VMware or any virtualization software. The platform, which is the server itself, you've got what I say about 3 choices. The 3 choices are going with Dell or HP. Those are the 2 main ones. The nice thing about these is they are built to specifications already, so you get a choice of small, medium, and large depending on your requirements. But when you buy one of these things, they're already pre-built, pre-configured, and you don't have to do anything. It just you order it and it comes and you install it and it works fine. This is what most of the major players are using out in the virtualization world. The second thing, and this is the way I went, was to go with Supermicro. The nice thing about these folks is that what you buy is a bare bones chassis, which comes with power supplies, a motherboard, and a case, or the chassis, and you get to choose and install the processor, memory, NIC cards, and any other hardware you need specifically to your specifications. And of course, the third thing that you can do is actually build a virtualized server yourself. Go out and buy the case, the motherboard, and all the other parts that go with it. It's just like building a PC. But the nice thing is this is going to be your cheapest option, and also that you can build it custom to your exact specifications. So moving on to the memory, you want to buy a server with as many DIMM slots as possible, or when you look at these data sheet on a particular server, you want to know what is the max memory that the server will take. You don't have to populate all of the DIMM slots. You can run VMware just fine on actually 8 gig of memory, but you do not want to run into a situation where you buy a server and you run out of DIMM slots and you can't expand it anymore, because then you'll be buying a new server. So just keep in mind that you want to, one of your first priorities is to know what the max memory capabilities of a particular server that you're going to buy. The processors for a enterprise server, such as a Dell or HP or even a Supermicro, most all of these today come with 2 processor slots on them. In VMware, they're licensed by the physical processor, not the amount of cores. So you can buy one of these and order the processors to how many cores you really need. Not a big deal. You don't need 18 core processors to run a virtualized server, but you do want enough processing power to run whatever applications you need. So keep that in mind. And when it also comes to a dual socket processor core server, is that you can actually run the server off of one processor. You do not need 2. The only caveat to that is that the PCI slots in the server are dedicated to the processor, the physical processor. So if you do decide to buy a dual socket server, that your PCI slots will not work, because some of the PCI slots won't work because those PCI slots are dedicated for the processor. If the processor is not there, those PCI slots will not work. So keep that in mind as well. Storage, there's 2 choices. You've got a choice between either shared storage or local storage. Shared storage is basically a NAS or a SAN, where you're going to run an IP network or a fiber channel network and connect your host to another server that's dedicated for storage. Local storage is just as it says, is that the hard drives that you buy are going to be on the server itself. The caveat to this comes in is if you decide to cluster these servers and hosts, that the solutions to actually migrate VMs from host to host gets a little complicated because the VM wants to see the storage, and if the storage is not in sync or not connected to each other between hosts, it won't work. So keep that in mind as well. But some of these solutions to do desynchronization across hosts can get very expensive and very complicated, so keep that in mind. Personally, I like shared storage. I put in a SAN, and since it's on its own private network and both hosts are on that network, moving VMs between hosts is very easy and very economical. The network is all about compatibility. So when you decide to look at network interface cards, and more specifically the add-on cards, the add-on PCI NIC cards that you can get, you want to make sure that whatever you buy as far as a network card is on the particular vendor's hypervisor's hardware compatibility list. You can get some very, very cheap NIC cards out there which are no name, and like a $5 quad-core NIC card's not unheard of. But if it's not on the hardware compatibility guide of, let's say, VMware or IBM or Oracle, then it may or may not work. You'll take your chances, and at least you're not going to get support on it if it's not on that hardware compatibility guide. So keep that in mind when adding on network cards. But one of the big points that a lot of people overlook is the environmentals. They just care about the memory, the processors, and getting the thing up and working. But what they fail to realize is that if they do go out and buy an enterprise server or any piece of hardware, is that you've got to keep in mind that the thing takes up power and generates heat and has a certain amount of noise to it. And if you're going to look at these, you want to look at the data sheets on these servers and see how loud they are, how much power they take, and what the footprint actually is. So these servers come in 1U all the way up to 5 or 6U, and they can get very large as far as the footprint's concerned. So if you're going to put this in your house somewhere, you're going to have to keep that in mind. So do not overlook the environmentals. These things are loud, and they do generate a lot of heat. So you want to keep that in mind, that when you put one of these together, that your electric bill is going to probably go up, and your air conditioning is going to run a lot more often. So, but if you do go with an enterprise solution, you may want to consider dedicating a room in your house that you can close off because of the noise, because these things are not silent. Now, given that, I have a Dell DL380 that actually is fairly quiet. It's not too bad. So, the Super Micros I've got are quite loud, so something to keep in mind. And I think I'll leave it there for now. I'll go into depth on more of these issues as more videos that I put out. They're going to be focused on each one of these areas. So, but this is just a highlight of what you need to consider when deploying a virtualized environment. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next video.